Hi, students. I hope you are well at these difficult moments that our nation suffered. Exactly. Well, today in our conversation level, normally I expose a subject that is possible to dialogue in the same class. For example, at the moment that somebody invite us, exactly, or invite you to have a good dinner, exactly. It is a good option. For example, Madrid has a varied offer to enjoy a good dinner. Exactly. There are several options, different, not only, for example, you can say national food, that is, I suppose, easy for the majority of the clients or customers. Normally, Spain is a country that in the last time there have been more bars, more restaurants, more tavern that offer you different models of eating. Normally, in Spain, in the last time, we get used to eating out. Exactly. There are, it's totally different if we analyze behaviors for 20 years ago, exactly, no? That is certain that the American way of life is on our table. In this case, I remember many years ago that the option, for example, to taste a Thai food was very, very difficult and besides very, very expensive. Nowadays, Madrid is a good example. It's you can extend the same that we are speaking to another cities like Barcelona, Bilbao, Valence, or Malaga, only for example to name several examples in this case. No, well, if we choose national food, normally our first mind is to taste a good meat. Normally, for example, I am thinking to a barbecue, normally to roast a good meat, exactly, good steak. Normally, in this case, for example, imagine, for example, that we have in our mind to taste a good lamb. There are several places that can recommend you in Madrid to enjoy a delicious meal. That is a good question. Well, other question that is possible, not, for example, at the end to choose a homemade food that is more according, and it is incredible and a bit surprising, more for all people. In the at last time, there are young people that they prefer another kind of food. It is curious that more and more shops offer you Asian food. Normally, in the most occasion, they offer you the takeaway system, exactly about that, no? Normally, we have the idea that this kind of food provide you a healthier condition, and in general, most of the doctor recommend, imagine for example, uh, kind of prawn, or for example more vegetable, not so much fish, depend about the kind, and salad, this kind is each more popular in our society, exactly about that in this situation. Normally, if you take the decision to eat out, you have European cuisine. In this case, for example, the most variety about that, you have the Italian food. That is really, really strange because I give you a good example. When we are outside, imagine, for example, that we are, for example, imagine, for example, in Australia, or other example, in Norway. There are a good example that is easier for us to identify the different dishes is at the end, for example, to go into a Italian restaurant, because names like pizza, lasagna, spaghettis is very usual in our language, and our first idea in our mind is to recognize this kind of food. That is curious in this situation. For example, it is true that every country has its specialities. For example, imagine, for example, Germany, the first idea when we name the Germany food is normally the boiled potato, or for example this special hot dog, more that we can say sausage, the typical sausage, then is a good way of invite friends or relatives. That the problem came, imagine for example, that happened me many years ago. If somebody invite you, for example, to a Japanese restaurant, or for example a Korean restaurant, that is at the beginning a big problem, because I realized that when I was in this restaurant that a friend invited me, really the food, the taste of the food was very different than uh, I have, or I had, the previous impression. Than, for example, to taste sushi and so on is very difficult, because the taste is totally, or it's rather different that we get used to eating normally in our daily life. Then that is a good question. A good option that you can satisfy your guest, in this case is the same, a good friend, or a closer friend, or a relative friend, is normally to invite to recommend it's a Greek restaurant. Normally a Greek restaurant, very similar an our kitchen. That is a good option. For example, that they are satisfied about when they are finished with the different dishes about that. In that question is so. Exotic restaurant depend of the personality of the West. Is the same, a good friend or a relative. Imagine, for example, a Thai restaurant that is only, for example, to discover other kitchen, other so then we must pay attention in which restaurant we must invite, and at the end exactly to know better depend of, for example, it's normally to meet the first one, or it's a person that we know from other ons. Thanks, that is a good that you must make a reduction about what kind of restaurant you can invite to the people. Thanks, you can see in Educo channel. Thanks for you.